Hey everybody, it is 7.5 months tomorrow. So I thought I would do a health update because I think my last one was at 4.5 months and kind of go over what I have, where I'm at, and how things are going with my health more than just my weight. We have joining us today, Annie. I have 4 dogs. I can't keep any of their names straight. This is Annie. She is very tired from our long walk we just finished today. It was a muddy mess, and 3 of them had to have baths because they were covered head to toe in mud, but it was beautiful. First, we'll start off with where I was before I started carnivore. I have on my website the list of my comorbidities because it's so long I can't remember it. As of 6/28/2022, I was a type 2 diabetic. I had metabolic syndrome, morbidly obese, scleroderma, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, GERD, which is gastrointestinal reflux disease, elevated triglycerides, they were 343 if I remember correctly, rosacea, hepatic steatosis, which is fatty liver, considered in the severe category, peripheral edema in both my lower extremities, severe depression, severe anxiety, severe back pain, so much I had to use a walker at 32 years old just to get around more than just in the house because my back hurt so bad. And Tinea versicolor, which is just excess fungal yeast growth on the skin, uncontrolled. It just looks like a rash. So that's a lot. I probably have others I haven't thought of or were not on my medical chart, but I think 16 is enough to say I was in very poor shape at that point in time. Oh, I was 360 pounds too. But this is not necessarily about my weight. If you want an update about my weight, you can watch my monthly updates or my weekly updates that have my weights in them. This is just about everything else around health other than weight. So type 2 diabetes. I am no longer a diabetic. I haven't been for a while. I actually got my A1C checked again last week. I will share those values and everything in the blood work update later this week because I just don't want to get off topic. However, they are excellent. They are better than they have been, which is 2 thumbs up. My average glucose is, I want to say 80s for the past 3 months, which is fantastic because I was pretty bad with my type 2 diabetes. I was not taking insulin. I was headed that way. I was having to take metformin. My blood sugars would spike into 300s, 350s sometimes. I felt like death. I literally walked around constantly worrying if I was gonna have a stroke, heart attack, some kind of neuro event because my blood sugar was so high. Not anymore. They are spot on. My fasting blood sugars are usually 70s in the mornings. I have none of this up and down, like if I don't eat every 3 or 4 hours that I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Right now I do OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. I eat anywhere between 4 and 6 in the evening once a day, meaning I go 24 hours without eating pretty much 6 to 7 times a week because I'm just not hungry. I feel zero, and I mean zero of that fatigue, pass out, gotta eat something because I feel so crappy. I have no ups and downs in my blood sugars anymore, which is amazing. And I don't take my drugs anymore. I actually tapered myself off my metformin because I was checking multiple times a day and then decided no more because my blood sugars, I felt like I was having dips because of the metformin. Plus, I'm gonna be honest, the metformin killed my stomach. I was having terrible, you guys don't wanna know this, but I'm gonna tell you anyways, because some of you probably experienced this. I was like having to run to the bathroom all the time.
They're not married to you.
Well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't get that choice. They get the choice.
Fast forward if you don't want to hear this. Terrible, like diarrhea, and then I would have constipation sometimes, and it would like oscillate every few days. But I would be in the bathroom crying, and I mean tears, crying, wailing. I was having so much problems with the metformin. So no more of that, which is like the best. Metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is just kind of like a conglomerate of having elevated lipids, elevated triglycerides, obesity, type 2 diabetes. There's a handful of things you can have. I no longer have elevated triglycerides. I am no longer a type 2 diabetic. I am technically still morbidly obese because I haven't lost all my weight, but I do not meet all the criteria for metabolic syndrome anymore, which is number 3, morbidly obese or morbid obesity. I'm still fat, y'all. But the weight is coming off at the pace it's coming off, you know, every few pounds, every few weeks, 5 pounds sometimes here. I feel amazing considering at this point I've lost, probably, I weigh myself tomorrow, close to my 100-pound mark, I'd say. Let's see next. Scleroderma. My scleroderma has improved immensely. I kind of group my scleroderma, fibromyalgia, and RA together because when you have more than one autoimmune, you really don't know when one stops and the other one starts. My skin is looking much better because rosacea, actually, come to find out, it's a big thing with autoimmune, is much better. Go look at some of my previous videos. It's crazy how much better my skin looks. But the pain, I had chronic, constant pain. Sometimes just going like blowing wind on my skin, it would hurt. Like it would physically hurt me to have clothing touch my skin, have air going across my skin at times. I had terrible issues with nodules coming up on my hands. My joints would hurt, my elbows, my hips, my knees, my back. I mean, my ankles. There was no joint that was not affected with pain. And again, I don't know which of the three, all of the three, it just is what it is. That is all much better. The pain, I actually haven't experienced, I don't think, one of the hypersensitivity episodes in a very long time. I don't actually remember when. What else? I don't think in the past 5 months, haven't had any of the Raynaud's phenomenon where just blood circulation randomly cuts off to an extremity, usually the digits, toes, hands. Haven't had that. I don't have any nodules on my fingers anymore. I have been able to sew and do things with like fine motor skills because that used to kill my hands. Writing on a piece of paper, yeah, right. Like if I wrote more than 3 or 4 sentences by hand, hands killing me. Using the keyboard for a while killed me. None of that. Walking hurt, moving hurt, sleeping hurt, eating hurt, everything hurt. It does not anymore. The only thing I have noticed I still have, Scott and I have been starting to do some weightlifting. I do have joint pain a couple hours afterwards, some achiness, and this is not soreness. I know the difference. This is still some autoimmune stuff, but here's the thing. One, I am still about 120 pounds overweight still, give or take. I still have a lot of inflammation in my body. It is much better. I'm not surprised I still have autoimmune stuff going on because I am still overweight. That still taxes my body. The final answer will be when I get down to a healthy weight that I need to be, whatever range that looks like, then reassessing. Maybe I do have to stop things like tea and coffee and stuff like that, but for now, I have inflammation. I'm not really going to know because I still have that there. What I'm doing right now is working excellent. Sleep apnea. I had episodes where I would lay down, and this started happening pretty frequently, almost every night. I would lay down and I would aspirate or stop breathing. I would sit up and my throat would constrict, my esophagus, and then it would constrict my trachea, which is where we breathe, and I couldn't make myself breathe. It was some of the scariest moments of my life. I can't talk. I'm startled, awake. You know, Scott's dead asleep. I'm just disorientated and I can't breathe. That happened so many times. It happened, I think, twice in one night. I would have to sleep and sit up at a 45-degree angle. I think it was a combination of the GERD with the sleep apnea, them together, which was really bad. I did not use a sleep apnea machine. I probably should have, but I was avoiding doctors at that point in my life. And then after 4 or 6 weeks, I noticed I could lay flat. My GERD was gone. It had gotten to the point where I could eat nothing. White rice, indigestion. Fat stuff, indigestion. Lettuce, indigestion. Protein, it did not matter what I ate. I could eat raspberries and get indigestion. Hell, a banana would give me indigestion. I was so sick and nauseous all the time. And I mean all the time. Poor Scott had to literally listen to me moan every single night that I thought I was dying because I had acid reflux. My stomach hurt. I felt like crap. I tried everything from, antacids to you name it. Nothing was helping me at that point. That is gone. I have had only indigestion less than 5 times since I started carnivore. And I can tell you 99% of those times have been from eating carbs. If I do not have any carbs, I don't have any seed oils are a huge trigger for my indigestion. Does not matter how much fat I eat. I eat ribeye with butter most days now. I have no indigestion. And you would think that if you're going to get indigestion, that would sure trigger it. None. I can eat my homemade buffalo chicken wings, no indigestion. It is phenomenal. It's phenomenal not to burp up acid. It's phenomenal not to wake up choking on your own acid. It's amazing.
I'd like to point out that the better sleep in general that you have versus what you've experienced it for 7 or 8 years now is dramatically different for both of us. Because I lost weight and I don't snore as bad.
That is actually a huge thing. Scott only lost like 30 pounds, but he had all of his 30 pounds in his abdomen. He snored like he was a 500-pound man. I kid you not. Paint sucking off the walls to the point where I was having him sleep in the other bedroom. I just couldn't sleep. He was snoring so bad. And now, gosh, now that I think about it, the past few weeks,
I am not waking up snoring once.
No, I think one night you did. You were really, really tired. In the past month, you woke me up one night. And I poked you and you rolled over and you were fine.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be sawing logs, but I was a deforestation machine.
So, he didn't have sleep apnea. He just had, I don't know, people call it fatty tongue, where literally your tongue is fat, has a lot of adipose and stuff, blocking the airway, plus the fact if you have a lot of abdominal weight, then it makes you snore. So
sorry, I wanted to mention that because both of us getting better sleep than we've had in the 8 years we've been together is amazing. Almost 9 years.
Yeah. Number 9 is elevated triglycerides. As I said before, they were 343 when I started. The time before last, I think 4.5 months, I believe I got them down to 150. And now they're even lower. But again, I'll share that in the blood work video. Hepatic steatosis. I had severe fatty liver. It had not gotten quite as far as anything with cirrhosis or fibrosis, but I was well on my way. I recently just had an ultrasound done a week or 2 ago, and I am now considered the barely staged of fatty liver. So, and I even talked about in that video, if you have any abdominal fat, it can show kind of like, not a false positive, but what it'll do is it'll make it appear that you have more fat than there is, just because the ultrasound waves are having to go through your fat cells to get to the liver. It's not super accurate for someone that has any abdominal weight still on them. Doesn't matter though, because it still shows that my fatty liver has improved. Peripheral edema. I was so sedentary and I had so much swelling, so much fluid on my body that my ankles would sometimes get 2 and 3 times the size they are now. I had issues putting on shoes. I had pitting edema, and the best way you can check if you have pitting edema, you probably know if you have it, but you take your thumb and you press right on the front of the shin hold it for 10-15 seconds, then move your thumb. It'll pit where your finger was at because it pushes the edema out. I had to wear compression stockings. I have no edema in my legs anymore. It doesn't matter how long, if I'm on the computer for 3 or 4 hours and I don't get up, I do not have fluid retaining in my legs. It is amazing because not only does it's uncomfortable, it's hard to put shoes and socks on, but it kind of numbs because it's compressing the nerves in your feet. It kind of numbs your feet too, which can make it dangerous. And to me, it was unsightly because it looked like I had no ankle. I had a cankle. That is gone. I have not had that for actually quite a while. About 4 to 6 weeks into carnivore, it was pretty much gone. Severe depression. I was on the verge of suicide, and I do not say this lightly. If I hadn't been so scared of not doing it properly, I probably would have had already committed suicide at that point. I was so sad. I saw no way out of it. I was sucked into my own self-pity in the darkness. And it's a really bad place to be. I have been chronically depressed from the time I was a kid. I've been on and off antidepressants for, I'm 33 now, probably 20 years on and off antidepressants. And it's just a really bad place to be. Within, I want to say 4 to 8 weeks?
Yeah.
4 to 8 weeks, I noticed I was feeling better. I still take my antidepressant. We've cut the dose down. But that dark cloud that just followed me everywhere, that just engulfing feeling, it's gone. I don't know how to say it other than this. It's absolutely gone. Yes, I still have moments where I get depressed. I call it situational depression, but it's transient, right? It'll last a couple hours maybe. You know, sadness is nothing we're going to avoid in life, but that chronic depression is gone. The feeling that I want to die is gone. Me wanting to end my life is gone. Scott does not have to lay every night next to me in bed and listen to me tell him that I wish I didn't wake up the next morning. I don't even remember the last time I said that.
I don't either. I remember there's some nights I was so worried about you, I just stayed up all night staring at you. Make sure you didn't do anything.
I can't express how much of a difference I feel. I don't have the words. Language, my communication just can't. I just can't say it. I just can't get it out. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like living in a cave and never realizing light exists. And then one day you go outside and you see light for the first time. That is what it feels like. Life literally looks brighter. Life was dull. And part of this may have been the antidepressants too, but I saw no reason to continue living. The idea of living and suffering was worse than the idea of not existing. But that is gone. I get emotional now. Scott and I walked the 3 of the 4 dogs today, and I'm sitting there walking down the trail and Scott's looking at me while I'm crying because I'm looking at my dogs and I'm looking at their tails wag and they're so happy. And I try not to look back and beat myself up for the years that we had Rosie and Ryu, not the puppies. But I was so depressed that I hardly gave him attention. Scott pretty much took care of them.
Pretty much.
You did. And I just didn't get walked. And seeing them today on the trail it warms me so deep inside to know that something so small like walking can make something else just so happy. Anyways, so now my depression is now turned into I cry at moments like this, and I see the joy in the small things. And I will say something too. I used to be so afraid of dying. Ironic, right? Because I was like wanting to commit suicide. And Scott and I were walking the other day, and it was just gorgeous out, the sky. I think I have a short of it. And in that moment, I just realized this is what living life is about going out and experiencing things, whatever you like. And to me, it's seeing new things. It is seeing my dogs happy and doing things for their health that's good for them, their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and my own. 3 more. Severe anxiety. This goes along, I think, hand in hand with the depression. I had gotten so anxious that I had stopped leaving the house. Thank you, honey. I had stopped leaving the house. I mean, literally, I'd go months without leaving it. Scott did all the grocery shopping. He just stopped telling me anything because it would send my anxiety through the roof. I was having panic attacks, like full-blown panic attacks, can't breathe, on my hands and knees on the ground. And everything, every little bump in life sent me into this terrible spiral of anxiety. The thought of going places made me anxious. The thought of having to walk somewhere, I mean, the list went on and on. My anxiety was just honestly out of control. My anxiety, I think it's 90-95% better. What do you think?
It's almost non-existent.
True.
I mean, let's drive here and go to explore. There's no worry about, do we know what we're doing? Do we have, XYZ? Are we prepared enough? Nothing like that.
I don't have to think about where we're going, if there's a chair for me to sit on. That was a huge anxiety inducer for me, is, am I going to be able to sit somewhere when we get there? Because I was so overweight, my back hurt so dang bad. I could walk only a couple 100 feet before I needed to sit down, or I would be short of breath, or I would be embarrassed because I'd be sweating like I ran a marathon when I literally just walked into the grocery store. My anxiety, I was anxious about everything. Am I gonna fit in the booth or in the chair? If I sit on this, is it gonna break? God, that would be terrible. These are things that just made me not go anywhere, and that doesn't exist. I do not think about that. That doesn't even cross my mind anymore. And it is like an albatross being lifted off my neck. It is a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. More weight than, honestly, what I actually weighed at the time. Carrying that around, it is such a friggin' burden. Oh my God. And my anxiety is pretty much gone. I go to the store by myself and I don't think twice about it. I go and fill the car up with gas by myself. I'm okay being by myself now. Before, I never wanted to be alone with myself. And now, I'm finding it more and more okay being alone with my own thoughts. My office is in the basement. Scott's office is now on the 3rd floor. So I'm down there by myself, and it's not scary being alone anymore. So.
Our place is not that great. My office is stacked with 3 mattresses, dresser, and I got like...
His office is what in the spare bedroom with all the furniture piled up on one side. But But we did it because he gets more work done without me yammering in his ear. Back pain. I kind of already talked about this. I was 32. I was having to use it's called a rollator walker. You've all probably seen them. It's with the brakes and the 4 wheels, and there's a seat you can sit on. I had to take it anywhere I went outside the house because of shortness of breath, because my back hurt so friggin' bad. I mean, it was bad enough I would have shoved someone out of their seat just to sit down at times. It hurt so bad without even a thought of hurting the other person. Not that I ever did that. I just stopped going places. But it was excruciating. Excruciating. I can now walk. Oh gosh, what's the longest we walked? 3.5? Three and a quarter. 3 3/4. No, we made it more than 3.5. Right. Doesn't matter. Somewhere between 3.5, 4 miles. I have walked with no back pain. The only time I notice my back hurts is if I lift something too heavy right now, but I still have weight, and I also have some herniated discs / bulging discs in my low back. So I'm not surprised I'm not still having a little bit of pain with lifting and things like that, but it doesn't limit my mobility anymore. I can get up and down off the ground. I can sit on the floor now. It is just amazing. Amazing. And the last one, Tinea versicolor. That is completely gone. I was having to use, what is that, antifungal cream? Athlete's foot cream stuff things. Lotrimin, thank you. On my skin. It starts like in the areas where the skin touches, so behind, well, if you're overweight, behind the knees, any like fat folds, under the breast, bend of the arms if your arms are like chunk like mine. But mine had gotten so severe, it was starting on my shoulders. It was going down the outside of my arms, going down the back of my legs, the flanks of my back. It was everywhere. Like, it was starting to spread crazy. I did Lotrimin, got rid of some of it. It came back. Carnivore, gone. None. Nilch, nada, zip. My skin is looking much better. I don't have a trace of it anywhere on my body, and it's just overgrowth of yeast. But I'm eating no carbs pretty much, so there's nothing to feed it. And that's where I'm at. So here we are. I am still technically morbidly obese. I do have the scleroderma, fibromyalgia, and RAs still. I will be seeing a new rheumatologist hopefully in the next month or 2. I have trace amount of fatty liver left, and the back pain, I actually am going to do outpatient PT next month before they'll do an MRI. And hopefully we can get a little bit of strength back in my low back, and yeah. But that's all I have now. It's a fraction of what I had. And I think the biggest improvement is not being a type 2 diabetic anymore. I never realized, even though I've worked in the healthcare field, how dangerous it is. It causes inflammation in the body. It is one of the #1 reasons for cardiovascular events, strokes, like some of these life-altering bad things to happen. Diabetes, amputations, neuropathy, and these kinds of things by it. Out of everything, I think that is my absolute most favorite improvement I've had so far, is not being a diabetic anymore. If you guys made it this far, you're amazing listening to me yammer on. Same thing with Scott. I appreciate every one of you, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.